only from sketches. Yes, that's right, not an advertisement, not an official photo, not even a teaser video, but just a concept sketch of a Calvin Klein campaign featuring BTS's Jungkook is enough to make the virtual world boil over. X-platform TikTok to international forums broke out talking about the upcoming Jungkook x Calvin Klein campaign. In fact, no one knows what the final shape will be. But one thing is clear. This is no ordinary campaign. This is a kind of sign, a big signal from Calvin Klein that they are ready to change the face of the fashion industry once again, with Jungkook at the center of its orbit. Let's pull it back a little. Since Jungkook joined Calvin Klein as a global ambassador, every campaign he's been involved in has always felt like a global event, not just a product release. Her first collection rocked the fashion world for its daring display of a subtle but powerfully masculine side. The second campaign emphasized the freedom of the body and expression of modern personalities. And now, when the third sketch appeared just a black stripe on white, fans, fashion analysts, and even industry journalists began to guess. What is the meaning behind this? Who designed it? What are those little faint-looking symbols? Why is there an urban feel combined with something that looks like the silhouette of a Tokyo landscape? Is this a sign that Calvin Klein will bring Jungkook for a Japanese-themed campaign? Or is this a global interpretation of the evolution of youth culture? Interestingly, the sketch was not a random leak. A source from the fashion industry said that the sketch was part of Calvin Klein's internal presentation for the Fall Divided by Winter 2025 collection campaign, which was touted as the biggest visual project they've ever done with a single ambassador. So, it's natural for fans to be hysterical, but behind the hype, there is a greater dynamic strategy, visual philosophy, to the evolution of Calvin Klein's own identity, all of which now rests on the figure of Jungkook. How can a sketch spark global speculation? What exactly is Calvin Klein designing with this world pop icon? And why does the industry think that this collaboration could be a turning point not only for brands, but also for the definition of modern masculinity in the digital age? Well, this time we're going to go through it all in a relaxed, reflective, but still factual style of entertainment documentary narrative. Because when the world starts whispering about Jungkook x Calvin Klein, it means that something big is moving behind the scenes. However, let's dive into it a little. Why can a sketch create an effect of this magnitude? In the fashion world, sketches are a secret language between designers and the public imagination. And if Jungkook's name is already listed there, public perception automatically changes from just a fashion plan to a cultural statement. Calvin Klein knows full well that everything related to Jungkook is not just advertising, it's culture. It's a global conversation. This is why, even if it's just an initial scribble, netizens immediately dissect every detail. The shoulder line leaning to the left is considered to describe movement. The diagonal line at the waist is interpreted as a symbol of changing phases of life, and even the dense black color in certain areas is mentioned as a metaphor for strength and vulnerability. This is not fan overreaction. Calvin Klein has a long history of inserting symbolic meaning in every design, and when they chose Jungkook as the main face, that meaning came to life. Jungkook isn't a model who just wears clothes. He animates the narrative. That's why when we look at those simple sketches, many feel as if they see Jungkook there, not just his body, but his aura. The aura is calm, mysterious, but full of silent power that has long made the world unable to turn away from it. But behind all the mystery, there is one big fact. Calvin Klein is preparing a project called by internal sources as Campaign of Transformation. This buzzword went viral in industry forums, signaling that this collaboration is not just a fashion edition, but a visual revolution. The design will combine CK's classic aesthetic with a cinematic approach that takes the narrative to a new level, and Jungkook is the lead actor. One thing makes the project even more interesting. Rumors that the campaign will be released simultaneously globally at the end of October 2025. Calvin Klein's every step always starts from something that looks small, only to explode into a global phenomenon a few weeks later. So, it may be true what analysts say. When Calvin Klein draws, the world stops to guess. Behind the rumble of online comments and analysis, there is a deeper layer of meaning to the Jungkook x Calvin Klein collaboration. The campaign is rumored to be not just about clothing or body aesthetics, but about a global message. The redefinition of the image of masculinity, individuality, and self-expression in the midst of digital culture. In the past decade, Calvin Klein has been known for leading a paradigm shift. From challenging beauty standards to celebrating the diversity of body shapes, CK has always emerged as a pioneer in combining fashion with social philosophy. When they appointed Jungkook, an Asian pop icon with cross-cultural influence, it wasn't a purely commercial decision, it was a declaration. A statement that the new masculinity is no longer about rigidity, but about authenticity. And Jungkook, without straining, represents that. He has a unique balance between physical strength and emotional sensitivity. It can look dashing in denim, but still carry a soft aura that makes everyone feel connected. This is the reason why many observers say that the sketch could be the beginning of the most philosophical campaign Calvin Klein has ever undertaken. The theme of The Body Speaks is rumored to be its visual core, a narrative that presents the body as a medium of expression, not an object of gaze. Jungkook is not just a model, but a translator of ideas. From the business side, the effect is already visible. After the sketch leak surfaced, search volume for Calvin Klein Jungkook jumped nearly 230% in 24 hours. E-commerce platforms in Korea and Japan even reported an increase in searches for Jungkook CK's old collections that were released months ago. This is clear evidence that its influence does not depend on the release of a new product. Even the shadow of an idea is enough to shake up the market. And here lies the real strength of this collaboration. Jungkook is not just the face of Calvin Klein. He is a catalyst, a cultural catalyst that is changing the way the public interacts with the brand. It carries an emotional narrative without saying much. He does not need to explain, because his own presence already speaks. And perhaps this is the reason why Calvin Klein chose to start this campaign with a sketch. They know that with Jungkook, a single line can start a global conversation. The campaign is no longer about selling jeans or denim jackets. It's about carving out a visual history, about reminding the world that in the age of algorithms and instant imagery, there is still room for mystery. There is still value in waiting, guessing, and feeling. And when the full campaign is finally released, one thing is certain. The world will see Jungkook not just as a singer or model, but as a symbol of a new era of fashion, an era where body, art, and soul come together in one unforgettable piece. When we talk about Calvin Klein, there is one thing that has always been in their DNA: minimalism. But this time, they seem ready to break that boundary. From creative reports circulating in fashion industry forums, the upcoming Jungkook campaign will be Calvin Klein's first project to use the cinematic hybrid fashion film approach, a blend of commercials, short films, and installation art. And what's interesting, all centered on one character, Jungkook. To understand why this is important, we need to step back and look at how Calvin Klein evolved from just a denim brand to a cultural phenomenon. In the 1990 seconds, they rocked the world with iconic campaigns featuring Kate Moss and Mark Wahlberg black and white photos with harsh light, bodies for what they are, and messages that challenge beauty norms. 2 decades later, they did the same thing with Jungkook, but in a much more modern context. Now, the body is not just aesthetics, but a symbol of self-expression. Jungkook, with his proportionate but not hyper-masculine physique, presents a new image, that strength can come from tenderness. In the hands of Calvin Klein, Jungkook became their most daring visual experiment so far. The creative team even teamed up with some of the biggest names from the world of independent cinema and contemporary photography to create a more emotional visual atmosphere than the usual fashion campaigns. They wanted to make Jungkook's body not just a fashion object, but a running narrative. Picture it frame by frame. Natural light coming through a small apartment window, Jungkook sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing worn-out CK denim pants at the knees, his hand writing something in a notebook, and the camera slowly approaching his face, capturing a beautiful silence. Visuals like this are nothing new in the world of cinema, but in the context of a global fashion campaign, it's a revolution. Because Calvin Klein no longer sells products. They sell atmosphere, emotions, stories, and Jungkook is the most powerful medium to channel it. Production-wise, rumors say the campaign will use a mini IMAX camera the first time in Calvin Klein's history to capture skin textures, gestures, and denim details with extreme sharpness. All of this is done so that Jungkook's every move feels real, intimate, and touchable to the audience. There is also news that the lighting used will mimic the effect of afternoon light in Seoul, creating a gradation between soft blue and light orange, a symbol of the relationship of Korean culture and the globalization of Western fashion. Even the background music is said to be composed by a Japanese producer known for his lo-fi, cinematic sound style, portraying the melancholic yet upbeat atmosphere that became Calvin Klein's new identity. All these elements indicate one thing. The campaign is no longer about fashion, but human storytelling. Jungkook was made the pivot that connected the worlds of East and West, the fashion industry and the art of film, the human body and existential meaning. It's not just wearing Calvin Klein clothes. It's Calvin Klein itself, in its most lifelike form. It is no exaggeration that many observers call this campaign will mark a new era for global fashion, an era in which visuals become emotions and emotions become products. And in the midst of it all, Jungkook stands as the center of gravity, calm, mysterious, but inescapable. Interestingly, despite all this uproar, Jungkook himself actually remained as usual. No big statement, no teaser from his personal account, not even a comment from his agency. But that's exactly where his strength lies. He doesn't need to talk, because the world is talking about it. Every time she appears at the airport in a casual style, every candid photo of her is uploaded to the media, fans immediately associate her with Calvin Klein. Is that part of the campaign? Is the hairstyle deliberately like that? Does the bracelet she wears have any hidden meaning? All of those questions point to one thing. Jungkook is no longer just a brand ambassador. It's narrative force. People don't just buy a product because they wear it. They buy because they want to be part of the story. And perhaps that is the most interesting thing about this whole phenomenon. Calvin Klein sketches are just lighters, but the conversations that arise go far beyond the fashion world. people started talking about art, existence, even about the way the human body is perceived in the modern era. Jungkook, unwittingly, has become a medium of global reflection of who we are, how we present ourselves, and how the world looks back. When the full campaign is released, maybe the world will be excited again. But in the midst of all that rumbling, imagine Jungkook sitting quietly in the makeup room, staring into the mirror with a small smile, calm, aware that all this is just a phase of his long journey. Like a sketch that slowly turned into a whole work, Jungkook continued to develop. And perhaps that's where the message is hidden from all this. That every line, every shadow, every light is part of an unfinished story. Calvin Klein is just drawing, but it was Jungkook who kept him alive.